Hello everyone, welcome to another episode on the Majestic Bean channel. In today's episode, we'll be talking about some tips and tricks that I've learned about the Gaggia Classic Pro coffee machine. After receiving it a month ago and getting to know this machine, I figured out that there are a couple things that are not covered in the instruction manual that need to be covered externally in order to achieve consistency in making delicious coffee. The first thing is the water dispersion over the coffee puck coming from the shower screen over here. The second thing was temperature stability when pulling shots and being able to pull consistent shots with a consistent temperature of above 91 degrees Celsius. And the third thing was having enough pressure from the steam wand to steam milk properly without losing pressure midway and having some bad milk that you can't do latte art with. Let's talk about the first part, which is the water dispersion from the shower screen over here. Before we begin, it's very important to turn on your machine and let it heat up so all the elements inside and on the outside of the machine are heated up and brought up to temperature. If you start making coffee with the machine not being heated up, then what will happen is your coffee will probably taste sour and underdeveloped because all of these elements inside the machine are very cold. The first thing we need to do in order to ensure that our shower screen is dispersing water properly is to take out our group handle, and after we've used it, we purge and wipe the inside of the shower screen. Just like that. So it's nice and clean. Then we need to take a little brush, such as this one, and scrub the inside of the shower screen so we remove any leftover coffee particles from it that would otherwise clog the shower screen. So now when I press the brew button, you will see that the water is coming out just as rain. And that's how it's supposed to be. So if you notice that the water is coming out of the shower screen in a uniform stream, then there is something wrong with it and you probably need to clean it up with a brush and then just wipe the inside of it. Now let's talk about temperature stability when brewing espresso with the Gaggia Classic. Since I've owned this machine for a month and I've read all the instructions in the instruction manual, over there it says that in order to brew delicious espresso, all you need to do is preheat your machine, wait for the brew button to turn on, and then just make coffee. So it sounds simple, but it's not. What I've noticed is, even though I would preheat my machine, wait for the brew button to turn on, and then I press it and brew espresso, the machine runs out of hot water very fast and I end up with a cold espresso. Now, cold espresso tastes disgusting, and I actually measured the temperature of the espresso and it was around 60 degrees, which is terrible. So after going online and looking at a couple of forums and then doing some testing on my own, I discovered that for the best results, meaning brewing espresso with water at around 93 degrees Celsius, we need to not only wait for the brew button to turn on, but we also need to press the steam button for 20 seconds before we actually start brewing espresso. This is why it's very important to have a stopwatch or a timer handy and to have it somewhere near the espresso machine, so that way you can time from the beginning when you've pressed the steam button until the 20 seconds have gone up, and then you press it again, and then you start brewing. Just put it inside. This is where the important part begins. So if I put this coffee to brew now, without preheating it with the steam button, what would happen is this light over here would turn off midway while I'm making the espresso, which means that the boiler has run out of hot water, and then it's passing cold water through the espresso, ending up with a cold, disgusting espresso. Instead, what I'm gonna do is take my timer, zero it out, and then I'm gonna press the steam button and press the timer and wait for 20 seconds. While I'm waiting, I'll just put the handle inside and put my cup and my scale over here, tare it. Now I'm at 17, 18, 19, 20. I turn it off, zero out again, and then start brewing. Now the espresso will be brewing, and this light over here will never turn off because there is enough hot water inside to brew enough espresso without turning it off. Go. That's it. And what I ended up here is a tasty espresso that's brewed with hot enough water, probably at around 92, 93 degrees. And that's it. Now, a very important thing to remember is not to leave the steam button on for more than 20 seconds, because what happens then is, for example, at 23 seconds, the water reaches a boiling point, and then what you end up is with boiling water coming out of the group head, which ends up destroying your coffee. So it's very important to remember that you need to leave it for only 20 seconds and not a second more. Now I'll demonstrate for you just so you can see what happens if I leave it more than 20 seconds. Okay, so I will press the steam button and wait for 23 seconds. Now I turn it off. And now when I press the button over here, there will be steam coming out of this. Let's say I had freshly ground coffee inside over here and I was trying to make espresso. What would have happened is that steam would have exploded on top of the coffee and then created channeling and just made disgusting coffee. So that's why it's very important to wait for only 20 seconds and not a second more. Let's move on to steaming milk. First, what I'll do today is show you what happens if I follow the instructions, and then I'll show you my way of doing milk and achieving enough steam to do latte art. So first, what the instruction manual says is press the button and wait for it to turn on. While I'm waiting, I'll just pour milk over here. So what you'll notice midway while I'm steaming, this light will turn off and all of a sudden I will start losing steam in the steam wand. So the milk would stop spinning, so it just starts heating up. And what I'll end up is with a bubbly milk, and then I'll show you how it is once I start pouring the milk into the coffee. It's not gonna look great. So let's just wait for this to turn on. There we go. Let's do it. Alright, I positioned the jug properly. There we go. Start spinning. You can see how it's spinning nicely. And then what will happen is this button, this light will turn off because it's gonna run out of steam anytime soon. There we go. And now I start losing pressure. So you can see the milk is not spinning as it used to before. And you can hear this weird sound. So now the milk is hot, but it hasn't steamed properly. And there we go, we have the cup here. So this milk is not bad, but I'm not sure if it's visible on the camera. There are small bubbles, not ideal for latte art. Now we're gonna do things the correct way, and we're gonna end up with nice silky milk for latte art. What I'm gonna do first is, and all of these steps apply for every consecutive time you wanna make milk after you've done your shots. First, what you need to do is turn off the steam button and let all of the steam out until it runs out of steam. There we go. Now what we do is we press the steam button and the brew button and let some hot water out through the steam wand. Just a bit. Then we press the brew button and wait for steam to come out of the steam wand. There we go. Now we close the steam wand and turn on our timer. Now after we've turned on the timer, we wait for 20 seconds. When we arrive at 20 seconds, we purge a bit, wait 1 second or 2 seconds, and then start steaming. What will happen now is, although this light over here hasn't turned on, I know I already have enough steam over here to not lose pressure and steam this milk properly and with enough microfoam for latte art. As you can see, the milk is spinning and I won't lose pressure anytime. The milk is nice and hot and it was still spinning. There we go. I'm not sure if it's noticeable, but the milk quality is much better now. There we go. Now, I'm not sure if you can see, but this milk now is perfect. This is latte art quality milk, just as you would get in any cafe. What we're gonna do now is put all of the things that I've said before into practice. And we're gonna make a coffee. Actually, we're gonna make 2 coffees. And I'm gonna steam enough milk for 2 coffees and then pour it with some latte art. First, what I'm gonna do is purge the machine and clean my filter. Nice and dry. Then I'm gonna wipe the shower screen, as I said before, and use my little brush to get rid of any coffee particles that are stuck inside. And just check the water. I'm gonna measure out 20 grams of coffee. Go. Make sure everything fits nice. And now we do the second step, which is pressing the steam button and putting our stopwatch for 20 seconds. Go, wait. I'll turn it off at 20. And we're ready to brew. There we go. I can restart my stopwatch and press the steam button. We're gonna wait for 20 seconds. Now before we start steaming, I'm gonna press the two buttons and let some hot water out of here. After some of the water is coming out, I'm gonna turn off the brew button and wait for the steam to come out. There we go. Stop it, reset my timer, and wait for 20 seconds. There we go, 20 seconds. Purge the steam. And here we go. The milk is nice and hot. What I just did here is made milk not for one but for two coffees, which would have been impossible to do if I was following the instructions in the instructions manual. What I'm gonna do is split it. Go. I'm gonna make a flat white. Good. And a latte. And that's it. So as you can see, all of the methods that I described before work perfectly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video helped you a lot to make nice coffee with your Gaggia Classic Pro and you get the most out of your machine. That's all for now, and join us next time for another interesting video. Until then, stay safe and we'll see you soon.
Psst, psst. Hey, did you like our video? If so, there's so much more coffee content on our social media. Go on, check it out.